All right, let's get into our next discussion now. Last week, Thursday, the National Economic Council set up a committee to decentralize police operations in Nigeria.
Yeah, the council also requests the deployment of the police and National Security and Civil Defense Corps to areas liberated by the army in the northern region.
What we've decided to do is to work on certain methods. For example, the council decided that a committee would be set up with representation from each political zone to be chaired by the Inspector General of Police, so that we'll find ways of decentralizing police operations so that there will be greater access to information, and handling these situations will become much easier rather than a centralized and cumbersome approach. It's not easy to coordinate. Yes, coordination, that all security agencies are supposed to be centrally coordinated, but sometimes we have issues. But these issues are being addressed right now, and probably that is why we are beginning to see some improvement. But the truth is that we are dealing with a situation that is asymmetric, that is not normal, it is not conventional. And in dealing with these problems, there will be issues.
All right, joining us from Abuja is a retired Commissioner of Police, Lawrence Alobi. Good morning to you, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
Retired Commissioner, can you hear me? Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for having me. I can hear you very well.
All right. Now, we want to get clarification first before we proceed, because Nigerians have been calling for a total restructuring of the police force so that states can have theirs, state police in general. But we are hearing that what they want to do is to decentralize operations. How will that work if they go ahead to do that?
Yeah, thank you very much. You see, right now, operations already been decentralized, and they say it's pseudo-decentralization, in the sense that the Nigerian police force structure is also in line with the federal structure. In each state command, there is a commissioner of police and officers and men, and in each zone, there are also zonal AIGs, there's area commanders, there are DPOs, all in the 36 states and FCT Abuja. So in that line, the police already been decentralized. But the point is that it is CDO in that sense that it is what really matters most importantly is funding of the police. If the police is properly funded, properly trained, and given the enablement and capacity, the police will function effectively. And again, the issue of regime protection should be addressed, because the police there is for the police that is there to meet the people's needs, the needs of the people, security needs of the citizens, not the needs of a government in power. So I think this also is a challenge that needs to be addressed. The police, what is happening now is that the present the Nigerian system has kind of borrowed from the colonial policing, which was there just to protect the British interests and not the interests of the citizens of Nigeria. So I think that orientation should be looked into, and that can only be done when we enthrone democratic policing, and also police officers are also properly trained in human rights education and application of emotional intelligence in policing and law enforcement. The character of the citizens of the policemen is very, very important, and so the citizens themselves too need to cooperate and assist the police and other security agencies in maintaining law and order in line with Section 24 of the Constitution. So the point is that right now, they seem to be pseudo decentralization in the sense that all state commands, the commissioner of police in each state has power to police the state, ensure law and order is being maintained, and ensure that security is granted in the state. And if anything arises that be considered a security threat, he has a duty to take appropriate action to address the problem. He doesn't have to wait until the IG directs him to do that. Each commissioner of police has a duty under the law to ensure that his state is properly policed, his law and order being maintained, and security is being granted. So that, I think, there is a kind of a decentralization. What is more important that is not decentralized is funding is not decentralized. The funding comes from the budget to the various commands, the DPOs or the area commanders and CPs. I think if funding can be made directly to the DPOs, made directly to the area commander, directly to the commissioner of police, in that case, then they have a very effective monitoring system that can monitor to ensure transparency, accountability, and prudent disbursement of funds and utilization of funds.
All right, Lawrence. You have said that the Nigeria police is already decentralized, and certainly we can see from the hierarchy IGP to DIG to AIG to Commissioner of Police and down and all of that. Now,
that's true.
From the new move that a committee has been set up, headed by IG and some governors and some other stakeholders to look into, are you saying that we're not expecting anything new from what exercise they're about to carry out?
Not at all, not at all, not at all. In fact, it's just like, well, the point is that maybe it's a kind of a method in our Nigerian system of government. We have been having committees and reports from police reform. The late MD Yusuf, with blessed memory, report is there. Madam report is there. Pedal report is there. All these reports are there. Things are really, the way forward have already been provided in those reports. But now the problem is that we're not going to the political will to implement those reports. So even with this committees go into action, it will just be the same thing. But I'm saying that the critical and most important challenge is effective funding of the police, giving the adequate training to ensure professionalism and to ensure that they perform optimally with appropriate welfare. Right now, the police officers, many of this country, they are giving only a demonized welfare package, very demonizing. They cannot even meet their needs. So when somebody's rights have been demonized, he will in turn extend it to the citizens. So let the police officers and men be well taken of, their allowances, their accommodation, their equipment. Policing now it is no longer conventional. Policing now is capital intensive. It is technologically driven, intelligence driven, and knowledge based. And for that to acquire knowledge, you need to be trained. Capacity building. So the police need to be properly funded, and the police authority should embark on democratic policing, training on democratic policing and law enforcement. We are not in a democratic dispensation. Officers and men of the Nigerian police force need to imbibe the values and norms of democratic policing, because the values of democracy. We're no more in a military regime, we're no more in colonial policing, we need democratic policing so the citizens can also see that the police themselves have imbibed the democratic values and norms, with respect for human rights, accountability, transparency, respect for the rule of law, and policing to meet the needs of the people, not to meet the needs of a particular government.
All right. Commonly, really, the police are supposed to be practicing democratic policing, if you know, because they are the ones that are closer to the citizens. So in essence, are you saying that the present police is not practicing democratic policing? And if that is should be done to the letter, don't you think state policing is even the way to go?
Not at all. State policing, even if you extend state policing, even if you carry policing to the least ward, if the policeman attitude in line with democratic policing and democratic law enforcement, in line with international best practices, and being professional in his duties, and also policing in knowing that with the application of emotional intelligence in policing, it doesn't change anything. It's with these capacity buildings, robust capacity building, to ensure the men now imbibe democratic policing. Because right now, officers men, that's why Amnesty International accusing the police of human rights abuse and so forth. What did the acting vice president or the vice president gave the order that they should decentralize, because they are seeing that, or changing of SARS, because they are seeing that a lot of allegations about human rights abuse. So I think if officers men of Nigerian police force and also security agencies imbibe the principle of democratic policing, whether this policing in line with democratic norms and values, this will not arise. But because it's not just changing the name or changing the signpost. What is important is the attitude of the people, of the officers and men of the police, and the other security that is important. Not just issue of nomenclature, whether it's state police or federal police. And again, state police again has its own challenges. It was practiced in 1989. In fact, when it's officers with the rank of DSP downward should go to their state of origin. I went to my own state. I started my local government. They have the challenges. Sometimes you have this boundary dispute with contiguous states, and they have intra and inter-boundary dispute. And it could find that sometimes if a particular state has a boundary dispute with another state, and if all the Indians are from a particular state, it's bound to be a problem. Parochial and ethnic sentiment will come into play, and that will also become a threat to security. So I think what is important is that let us, Nigeria, think on how to improve the Nigerian police force. If you fix the Nigerian police force, we will fix Nigeria. And the Nigerian police force is a critical institution that promotes unity in this country. We should try to emphasize on those factors that will strengthen our unity, our brotherhood, our integration, no factors that will divide us the more. Rather, we are divided along ethnic lines and religious lines. Let us do those things that will promote unity amongst us. And the Nigerian police force is one of that focal critical institution that promotes unity in this country.
All right. You have raised a lot of questions in here, talking about emotional, intellectual balance and psychological balance. You've talked about the issue of democratic policing. You talked about the issue of funding. Now, from where we stand now as a country, the police in Nigeria, how far away from an ideal policing system is Nigeria?
You see, the Nigerian police force is a victim of a defective system. Outside the shores of this country, we perform, we are rated as one of the best in this country. I used to be in charge of federal operations. I was in charge of peacekeeping for 5 years in the Nigerian police force, the force headquarters. I deployed officers of mine for peacekeeping, UN peacekeeping, and the rest of it. But outside of this country, we are rated the best. Be here in this country, because one, the police force is being starved of funds, it's being starved of training. They are paying dehumanized welfare package. They are not being recognized. They are the most town-lashed institution, and what they know is blame, blame, blame. Nobody appreciates the police in this country. So it's only when you empower the young police force, give them well trained, give them well cared for, and the Nigerian society too to reciprocate. Section 24E of the Constitution says that the Constitution duty of the Nigerian citizens to assist security agencies in maintaining law and order. How many Nigerians are conscious of that constitutional provision of the Constitution? How many of them? We think only how to blame the police, think how to blame security agencies. We don't think what can we do to add value, what can we do to contribute. You see, life is a level of service. Whatever we can do, and policing is a service-oriented institution. It's not a profit-making institution. So I think if the police is being fixed, like these issues I've just addressed, for police to perform in line with international best practices and to perform in line with professional standard, they need to be empowered, need to be trained, need to be motivated, and the environment too need to be conducive. You cannot work in an antagonistic environment, hostile environment, I think you can do well. Just like, for instance, if you have even a child or a wife, if you have a husband who is very, very nagging husband or a nagging wife, you cannot do well. So the society itself is contributing to the ineffectiveness of the Nigerian police force. We need to understand the dynamics of policing and internal security. It's very, very important. Internal security is key. And the police, which is supposed to be a tablet of internal security, is being destroyed indirectly. Now we seem to appreciate militarized policing than democratic policing. Everywhere, military, under Section 217 of the Constitution, the military should only come in aid of the civil society, in aid of the police. But now it now becomes a norm. And that is very dangerous for this country, because it gives the citizens a that psychic that only the military can perform and the police cannot perform, which is not very good for our democracy. We don't have to militarize our democracy. We don't have to militarize our policing and law enforcement. So for the police to perform optimally and perform in line with international best practice, we need to get the police well funded. In fact, in 2003, the IG then initiated the police trust fund. It failed. Right now, even the 8th National Assembly has also initiated the police trust fund and police development fund. If these are the key things, this is what they need. You see, we should not be looking at things based on our desires. We should concern with our need. What does the police need to perform optimally? And what does the Nigerian citizens need to enjoy for security? These are things we need to be concerned with, not desires. To concern with the need of the police and need of the citizens.
All right, yeah, talking about funding the police, it's becoming common knowledge by the day that the police is not well funded. But who would you blame? Successive governments that have not done the needful to reform the police, to make the police perform optimally. We understand that about 45,000 naira is given to each police unit for operations monthly. You need to help us clarify that if true. That should be about 1,500 naira daily. And then just last year, the Inspector General of Police, Ibrahim Idris, said the police would need about 1.13 trillion naira for operations annually for the force to be able to perform effectively.
Of course, funding is a live wire of any organization. And when you starve the police of the fund, of course you are destroying the police. And by destroying the police, you're destroying our security of this country. So funding, in fact, I think it was only Shagari that stood up to see how I can fund the police, Shagari during his administration. Thereafter, most governments fail to fund the police. I don't know for what reason. Some people sometimes they even try to create to kind of a proliferation of agencies that will probably they are not performing police function rather than strengthening the police force. Like I had to thank Mr. President for refusing to sign the bill on the Peace Corps, because what is that going to be? What are they going to do? If you say you want to talk about the issue of employment, employ enough. Today we have about 350,000 or 380 police officers in this country. In a country of about 185 million. How can that is grossly inadequate? And then not only in terms of strength, in terms of funding, in terms of training, in terms of capacity. So, in fact, it has to be holistically addressed to ensure that the Nigerian police force and the government should also be sincere. The government is not addressing the issue of police at all. They are not addressing it, but however, that issue of police, state policing, decentralization, community policing is coming up. It shows that the government begins to realize that the police is key and central for the citizens of our democracy. Without the police, no democracy. If I can assure you that if we want to actually fix our democracy, we need to address the issue of the police. I would strongly suggest that the government should address the issue of this police trust fund or police money fund. Let's borrow from Lagos State. Today, Lagos State is one of the safest states in this country because they have the security trust fund, and that is helping a lot. Policing is technically driven, capital intensive, and knowledge based. You can acquire knowledge without training and capacity building. You can do modern policing without technology and intelligence. All these are capitally based. We need demanding it. It needs adequate funds to fund the police. You need adequate motivate the police. So it is only the government
all right.
and people of Nigeria will have the police they want.
Okay, Lawrence.
By actions or inaction.
Yes, Lawrence, how concerned are you that a committee that is set up to decentralize and look at the police to become a little more professional is handled, or the committee is made up of governors? We have governor of Zamfara State, Ondo State, Plateau State, Ebonyi State, Katsina State, Edo State, and Borno State, with the chairmanship of the IGP. One was expecting that professionals will be hired to look at this issue, but we have what others will call politicians being members of this committee to look at the professionalism of the Nigerian police. How concerned are you from that window?
I'm very, very worried because, you see, professionalism is this capacity based on knowledge. Like I said, policing is knowledge-driven. I don't know why you should bring governors and politicians. Today, the problem in Nigeria today is a result of most of these politicians, unscrupulous politicians, who think all about their interests, think how to remain in power, to be able to have everything to loot, not think about service. I think the government should look at knowledgeable, professional officers and men who are either semi or retired, or maybe other people who are outside with that desired capacity to sit down, articulate a paper and submit to the government. They bring out governors. What do the government know about policing? What do the government know about? Governors only don't know about politics and intrigue. So I think the government should rethink on who and who should be in that committee. Should be men who are knowledgeable, men who will be able to ensure that they enthrone effective policing, democratic policing that will make the Nigerian police force more proactive, more efficient, more people needs driven, and more professional.
All right, the IGP Idris, talking about funding, because there have been allegations that there is corruption as well within the MPF. IGP Idris said about 16.1 billion naira was allocated to the force in 2016, but just 10 billion naira was released. And then in 2017 was about 31.6 billion naira. And then this year, just about 8 billion naira so far as of May had been released. That it is one thing for the government to approve an amount for the police, but most usually that amount is never released fully. It's always part release of amount. But then there are those that are accusing the police force of corruption as well. If you recall, there was a probe into the police force and about 80,000 ghost police officers were discovered at the point. What has been done? Well, Nigerians don't know. So all this together, it seems that, yes, the police has its own external issues, but within itself, it seems to be its own enemy. Do you agree?
I agree with you. I agree with you. You're absolutely right. You see, we have both internal and external factors affecting the police. The police themselves need to be proactive, need to be creative, they need to demonstrate moral leadership, demonstrate commitment, demonstrate that the trustworthy character. They should make themselves worthy of the trust of the citizens, and not just. However, issue of corruption is a problem that permeates in all facets of Nigerian society, and the police is just a micro unit of the macro society, Nigerian society. So corruption is not just for the police; it's everywhere in Nigeria. Even everywhere, corruption is. That's why Mr. President has declared war against corruption. But then, how we should be sincerely concerned. And again, it's unfortunate that the police don't have control over what they. You see, budgeting is based on need. When the IGP and the police budget an amount of money for vehicles, maintenance, allowances, and so everything, and then somebody sits in a corporate office in either Ministry of Finance or budget office and say, let's give them this. The man who wears the shoes knows where it is pinching. So I think they should be, when the police budget, they should not compromise that. Government should think that give standing order to Minister of Finance and Minister of and budgeting, that whenever the police give its needs budget based on need, it should be released as approved. And again, the government should set up a committee of men of proven integrity to monitor police procurement, police what contracts have been awarded, and so forth. This can be checked. Like this issue of whistleblowing. Whistleblowing can also be introduced inside the police institution as a system of checking or mechanism of checking corruption in all agencies and institutions.
All right, so what we're taking away from you now is emphatically or specifically you are saying that there is no difference between the SARS that existed and the FSARS that we're looking forward to.
Yeah, you see, the only thing that can change the SARS that have been anticipated or that are going to be reformed is attitude. Just like putting an old wine in a new wine skin. It is the same police, the same attitude, the same way of doing things. What is important is that the Nigerian police force should carry out a robust training on democratic policing, human rights education, and emotional intelligence. All officers I mentioned from the IG down should be trained on this. But the one can now change attitude. And the government should, I want to strongly request that the government should create an intervention fund to carry out this training. If really they need, if this changing of from is the new SARS and the decentralization, the government should create a fund to intervene on this challenge, because it's a challenge that's confronting Nigeria. If Nigerian police force is not fixed, our internal security is not guaranteed. Okay. And policing will be at the lowest ebb. All
right. Thank you very much, Lawrence Alobi, former Commissioner of Police from Abuja studio. Thank you so much for talking to us this morning on TVC Breakfast.
Thank you for having me, too.
All right.